really won't come out of their comfort zone, no matter how much pain they're in. You know, people don't like their jobs, or they don't like their boss, or they don't like the kind of money they're making, or they don't like their hours or their travel or whatever it happens to be. And, you know, people just don't understand what's out there. So, and people that come to me, they rack their brains about, oh, you know, I've been thinking about this idea or this idea, and they have all these ideas, but people don't know how, really don't know how to execute it and start a business from scratch. And you're right, that you know, that's fear. You know, that produces a lot of fear, in my opinion, because you have to figure out how to get your clients and customers, deliver your product and service, you know, the estimating, the billing, you know, everything about it. You have to figure out on your own. That's why 82% of businesses fail in 3 years. And that's why I'm a franchise consultant and a business coach. And in the franchising sector, if you eliminate food and retail, which I don't like, if you look at the service sector of franchising, there's a 96.2% success rate after 5 years. David Tulis this morning had 2 of my clients on. David Graham from Detail Experts, which basically what they do is they come in and they will wash trucks for trucking companies, any vehicle, and use 4 gallons of water, and the truck doesn't have to be driven to a truck wash and drive through and back and all the time and gas and so forth. But that's a business, a repeat business every 4 weeks, and a great service. And environmentally, if you look at that business, their patented steam cleaning process uses 4 gallons of water.
Yeah, that was amazing when I heard him say that.
Yeah, a truck wash uses 160 gallons of water.
A 53-foot trailer, which is a big trailer. I mean, I was in the trucking business for a little while myself, and I know those trailers are huge.
Yeah.
And to wash it with 4 gallons, that's incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah. And my other client that came in today, Nancy, she and her husband went into something called Apex Fun Run, which promotes exercise and fitness and anti-bullying in schools, but it really helps schools raise money is really what it does. And at the same time, really helps kids not only learn about business, but as I said, it's exercise, leadership, development, fitness, anti-bullying, and a lot of different things. But helping schools raise money is a big issue, and they are very passionate about that. She was a soccer coach for most of her career. He's been in the military, loves to help people. So, you know, a lot of people say to me, well, you know, what's out there? McDonald's at $1.6 million? Well, no. If you look at the service sector, it's very inexpensive to get into. You don't have very much overhead at all. And when you get into something that has little or no competition along with repeat business, that's just a whole new dynamic. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I was showing this article before we started is the number of women-owned businesses has really increased. What I'm seeing today is a lot of women that are coming to me that want to, you know, the kids are back in school, they're a little grown, they want a career, they want to stay busy, make some money, but they need a flexible schedule. So women have a totally different dynamic than men, because they do need something that has a flexible schedule, that has a low cost of entry, that's going to use their skills and strengths. But, you know, women in particular need that kind of business, but also, quite frankly, have the talents to do it, to be in business for themselves, because particularly in franchising, where you get a proven system to follow, most women are going to follow a proven system.
They follow the system better than men, right?
Most definitely.
I know I'm like that. You know, well, you know what? If this makes it very good, I think if I double it, I can make it better. And that's not necessarily the truth.
Well, an entrepreneur, I've always said this, quite frankly, is an entrepreneur should never go into a franchise, because an entrepreneur likes that system and likes all the infrastructure, but then they're going to go do it their way and they're going to crash and burn. Where, you know, somebody who wants to follow a system, a proven system, is going to get into a franchise and follow the system and be successful.
And I think with a franchise, it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It takes the fear away, because from what you said, I mean, that is the biggest fear I hear is where to start, how to start. Well, a franchise, they show you how to do all that.
Well, yeah, if you really think about it, is a company has been in business for many years, and they have corporate-owned locations, and they get to a point where they don't want to put their money out anymore for other locations in other cities. And They want to grow their business. They're a little narcissistic, quite frankly, because they want to see their name out there and grow.
Right.
And of course, yeah, they want to make money and royalties and so forth. But most franchisors I know about really want to help people into business and be successful in their business. So if you really step back and think about it, someone has run a successful business for a period of years, then they know how that business runs. They know every aspect of it. They know how to get the clients and customers, the marketing piece. They know how to estimate or price something. They know how to deliver that product and service, to do the quality control, to do the billing and collections and the accounting. And basically, when you buy that franchise, you go through training, but you not only go through classroom training, but they come out actually and do field training, where they're going to go out that first week or two when you come back from training and actually make calls with you, because you've never done that before. That's scary.
On the job training is what they're doing.
And in fact, of the business we were talking about, Detail Experts, they set all your appointments for you. There's no cold calling.
Oh, wow.
And many franchisors do that today because they know that the average person is not a good cold caller.
Right.
So they set all the appointments from their telemarketing center. Then they go out with you for the first couple weeks and make those calls so you can start to get business immediately. They help you hire your crews and train those crews to be able to go do the work. And the other thing that a franchisor does, which most people don't realize, is they do the R&D, meaning they're going to add new products and new services to stay ahead of the competition. Now, when you think about that dynamic, that's a huge look at technology today.
Well, technology changes, and you have to use technology in your business.
Absolutely.
The days of not using technology are over. And so the way it changes, like you said, if they're going to keep up with that for you and they're going to update your software and, all of a sudden they're going to make you more mobile or whatever, that is huge.
Just look at one aspect. People today use Google search all the time. Now, when you really think about that, and you look at a business and, they may be number 20. If you go to your iPhone and whatever product or service you want, you Google it. How do the people get up there at number 1 or 2? It takes millions of dollars literally in most businesses to be up there in number 1 or number 2. But franchisors have hired specific companies to make sure that within a month or two that you after you open, that you're up there at number 1 or 2. Because let's face it, we all have ADD. We don't look at number 3 or 4 or 20. Yeah. So it's kind of a waste of time.
It's usually the first one. There it is.
That's right. But just thinking about some franchisors have a baseline where they're going to get a franchisee, one in particular, on average, $375,000 in volume the first year. Just from the Google search part of their, it's an incredible number. And I just had a client, Sandy Croft, who was on the show a little while ago. In her first 3 months, she got $75,000 in business, and it's from a Google search and Google AdWords, and of course, you do pay for click, but that whole thing is changing, and Google's making it more difficult. So you need a specialist to go in there constantly and put in the right information so you stay at number 1 or 2, let alone, then there's the dynamic of national accounts. When you have a national account and open in Chattanooga or whatever city you open in, you automatically get that business. So when you start to look at those dynamics of the true issues regarding why do you look at a franchise versus starting something on your own, a franchise is such a wonderful way to go because of the training and support that you get, and you take all the worry out of it. It's kind of a business in a box scenario.
And now, and what you do is your specialty is you go in and converse with the person, sit down, meet them, talk to them, and then try to pair them with the best franchise or business for their success. Is that correct?
To a point.
Okay.
Basically, what I do is meet with my clients many times for many hours, because I have to find out, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing every day from a business standpoint? What are all your transferable skills and strengths? What are all the things that interest you, money you want to make, lifestyle you want? And in that vein, I give my clients DISC, which is kind of like Myers-Briggs, because I have to really understand more about their personality. Excuse me. And also something called PIAV, which stands for personality, interest, attributes, and values. And again,
and is that like a test they take?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like a test. Okay. It's an assessment, not a test.
It's an assessment.
But once you get all that information, then I can come up with 4 or 5 or 6 different ideas for you that fit all your criteria. But not only that, today when I look at criteria and options for a client, I've got to factor in things that aren't affected by the economy, that have low overhead,
right,
that have repeat business, that have little or no competition or a strong reason to be against the competition, and national accounts. There's so much to consider. Just looking at the competition, again, that's a major factor, because you don't want to get into a business and find out you have 300 competitors in Hamilton County.
Right. That wouldn't work at all.
No. So. And most people don't think about all those things. They go into business for themselves, and then they find out all this kind of information. And this is kind of like, this is the scary thing to me, because you don't know what's out there.
Right.
And unless you do all this research and really investigate things properly, because what happens is after I give you a bunch of ideas, then you start a 3-month process of talking to franchisors and franchisees and visits. Go visit the closest franchisee to have a day in their life. Visit the franchisor and have lunch with the CEO and understand his vision and understand the training and the programs. So this is not something where we meet and you make a decision of what you want to do.
So they don't sit down for 30 minutes and say, okay, Bruce, what 5 would you like for me to do? I mean, but you educate people. I mean, and I think it's great. You gather a lot of information from them so you can turn around and educate them. And it is important, if you're going into business for yourself, to do something you enjoy.
Yeah, no question. And the nice thing about it is that I not only help my clients find the right opportunity, but then once you find it, you can decide if and when you ever want to do it. Financing is a big issue. And what I mean by that is, you got a franchise fee, you got some startup, you got training, you got corporate setup, but you got to pay yourself through the startup. And Bruce, that's a big issue.
I'm guessing most people don't think about that, do they?
Absolutely not.
No, they don't think about that at all. I know some businesses I've started, the last thing I thought about was, when am I going to make my money?
Well, yeah. And, if it takes you 9 months or a year or 2 years to make money, that is not something you want to do. So you have to put together kind of a use of funds, how much money you need for what. And one of them is to pay yourself for 6 months or 9 months or whatever it is for the startup. Even if you find out that you can start making money in 2 or 3 months, you still want that safety net. So that's where when my clients find the right opportunity, I help them find the best way to finance it, including paying themselves through the startup. And now it's easier than ever. Because in last March, there was a new program from the SBA called a low documentation SBA loan, where you can get $150,000 on your signature.
Wow. With
no pledge of collateral, no money down, a 10-year amortization with no prepayment penalties. And 75% of my clients today are getting that loan. So you're using the government's money.
It's free money.
It's free money. Well, you pay 2.75 over prime.
It's close to free money, but
right.
I mean, and we're going to, we got a little break here, and then we're going to go down to the rally right quick and talk to Confederate Mike. But also, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about women that are really, you touched on it, we both kind of touched on it a while ago, but we're going to talk about women and the percentages of women that are getting into business, which will just really, it blew me away when you showed me that. And I mean, there's a lot of women, like you said, there's a lot of women that maybe they stayed home to raise their kids, or maybe they took a part-time job or whatever, and they're ready to do a lot more. And we're going to talk about that also. I'm with Bruce Krebs, and he is with the Entrepreneur Source. This is the Entrepreneur Hour. And Bruce, right quick, give your phone number.
423-875-5621. And again, my services are completely free to any clients, because I get paid like a headhunter.
All right, sounds good. We'll be right back. And hey, you're listening to Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And we come back, we're going to have an update from the rally for Lieutenant Commander Timothy White.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. If there's one person we can turn to explore the role debate moderators and members of the press play in shaping elections, it's legendary news anchor Jim Lehrer. Don't miss my guest Jim Lehrer this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's E.J. Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
When my brother and I opened the first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You are listening to Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and this is the Entrepreneur Hour. And I'm with Bruce Krebs. But first, we're going to go downtown. Right in front of the Federal Building is where Chattanooga's for Justice. They're having their rally down there for Lieutenant Commander Timothy White. And we've got Confederate Mike down there. Mike, are you down there ready to go? Hey, Chrissy, this is you're on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
We are broadcasting live from downtown Chattanooga, where Hot News Talk Radio is loud and clear. Hello, Bruce Krebs. I'm actually your sidekick every other Wednesday. I miss you, Bruce.
Yeah, where are you? Come on, I thought you were going to be here doing the show.
We are covering a very important event here in downtown Chattanooga. Today is the day that the rally for Lieutenant Commander Timothy White takes place in front of the Federal Building in support of Timothy White. I was talking to the executive director of Chattanoogans for Justice today, and she said, yeah, she believes in the Good Samaritan law, where if you do something for the greater good, everything else is extinguished, and you're actually absolved of all civil and criminal liabilities and penalties. And the example would be, let's say you jaywalk, but you did it to save someone's life. Maybe an old lady was getting attacked. Well, should you then be charged with jaywalking? No, you wouldn't, because of the Good Samaritan Act. So he was a good Samaritan. He was acting in good faith, protecting his troops, and this should have been dropped a long time ago. We have been told that it has been dropped, that it's over. Our inside sources tell us it's not. Chattanoogans for Justice inside sources tell us it's not. They are still wasting time, energy, effort, money, and resources in investigating Timothy White, who should be getting a hero, who should be getting a medal for being a hero. The protest, or not the protest, actually the rally of probably 4 or 5 people will be taking place in front of the Federal Building at noontime here on Georgia Avenue. And Chattanoogans for Justice are heading this, and they're going to be basically walking around with their signs in support of Timothy White. And I'm sure Chrissy's going to call in and give you more details. And we're going to be covering it here from Hot News Talk Radio live in front of the Federal Building, downtown Chattanooga. Confederate Mike, Hot News Talk Radio.
Well, thank you so much, Confederate Mike, for being on the scene there with us and giving us that live update. I know that the great David Tulis from the David Tulis Show is on his way to down there to report live. And, of course, we'll be covering it with our news director, Russell Stroud, manning the station down. He's the one that keeps his hand on the wheel to make sure we don't deviate in the wrong place. But right now, we're going to go back to Bruce Krebs. Bruce, we were talking about in the first segment about, how fear is really the big obstacle. And you don't take away the fear, but you really help people manage it so that it kind of fades away on its own. But we were also talking about how women are really looking to be entrepreneurs, and you've got some stats on that and what you've seen in your business.
Yeah, nationally, the amount of women-owned businesses, Caucasian white women-owned businesses, increased by 10.1%. Asian women owning businesses increased 44.3%. And black-owned women businesses increased by 67.5%. And Hispanic women-owned businesses have increased 87.5%.
That's incredible.
It's really a huge number. And if you really think about it, the reason for that is it's very difficult for women to, if they've been home with the kids there for, until the kids get out of high school, to go back and get a job. And you don't want to take something at $9 or $10 an hour or be a greeter at Walmart or whatever it happens to be. So for a woman to re-enter the workforce, it's difficult. At the same time, usually the woman has to take care of the house and the family and so forth. And so a woman needs something with a flexible schedule where she sets the appointments and can still take kids to the doctor and manage the house and so forth. So having a flexible schedule is a real big issue. At the same time, most women have had a corporate career before getting married or kids and so forth, and they have great skills and strengths. But what most people don't realize is just running a household, having kids and being a mom. Women have great transferable skills and strengths, and they're very good at following systems. So all of my clients that are women that have gone into business for themselves over the past 13 years have been very, very successful. And there's a lot of opportunities right now that are inexpensive to get into. They're service businesses, and they have flexible schedules. So, if you don't want to set your first appointment till 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you want to leave by 4, you do that. So, there's many different kinds of businesses that women have to find out about to learn that. And this acronym of fear, the biggest problem is people say, I want to do something different, but at the same time, they're not going to do anything different in their lives till they understand what's out there. So that's a real big issue, is you have to find out what's out there before you can do anything. At the same time, there was an interesting article today in Wall Street that says that the same situation really existing for men, because today many women executives are the breadwinners, and men have become more and more taking care of the kids, taking care of the house kind of thing. And it was an unbelievable number in today's Wall Street Journal that says 6.7 million men, 4.6% of the entire workforce, is now working part-time.
That is amazing stat.
It's an amazing number, right? So that's something that that today, I see that many of the men and women that come to me really want something that has a flexible schedule, simply because, particularly when you get it in a situation where you have to take care of kids or the house, you need that flexible schedule. At the same time, many people, particularly at over 50 years old, a lot of their motivations may not be money, and may be doing something they enjoy doing. But at the same time, there's just many people that want a flexible schedule instead of sitting in a cube all day long in corporate America. So there's a lot of different motivations, but those are all the things that I have to learn from my clients in order to give them opportunities. And there's other things that are really important, and you touched on it. You got to enjoy what you're doing every day. There's many people who like to give back to the community. They like to help people. Some like working with the elderly. Some like working with children. In the case of Nancy Culver, who came on the show today,
she had been a coach, so it was natural.
She'd been a soccer coach, exactly.
For her to do what the franchise that she took on. And you know, Bruce, I mean, I can tell by your enthusiasm and your passion that you're doing something that you enjoy too.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you know, in corporate America, you know, after the company I ran got bought by a big company, you know, it was corporate politics and meetings, and I just didn't enjoy going to work every day. And for the last 13 years that I've been self-employed, I can tell you that, you know, I don't have to get in the office till 7:30 or 8 or whatever. Hey, I wake up at 5:30, 5:45. My wife looks at me like, "What are you doing?" I say, I want to get going. I got a lot to do today. My mind starts going. And you're right. I love what I do because I'm helping people find their next life. And that's a really important thing, because to a point, what I really am is a life coach.
Right.
That's really what I am. I'm helping people find their next life.
Well, and just, you know, what we talked about in the first segment was how Bruce sits down and he wants to have, you said, as many conversations with someone. He wants to get to know you. He wants to evaluate you so that he can coach you in the right direction. I mean, it's just like a football coach.
Right.
You don't walk in and start saying, okay, you're going to play linebacker, you're going to be my quarterback, you're going to be my wide receiver. And these people are looking at you like, well, I've never done this before. But you evaluate them, and really, I'm sure on a personal level, you get to know them pretty good too.
Oh, very much so. And I'll tell you what, well over 80% of my clients that I've helped in the business 13 years, I stay in contact with weekly or monthly, where they know they can come back to me if they have a problem, if they have an opportunity, if they just need someone to talk to that's kind of neutral in their corner and so forth. And, you know, that's a real important thing, is to have somebody you can go talk to on a confidential basis at any time who can give you impartial advice.
Right. And it is. And you have the experience. I mean, I would say you relate to them pretty good, because you're coming from the corporate world, and you can say, here's what I did on a personal level. Here's, you know, the mistakes I made. Here's the good things that happen. And like you said, once you evaluate someone, then you can say, here's your choices. I like also what you said, where you said, you know, hey, why don't you go visit these people? Get to know these people before you buy in, before you make that decision, you know, because it may be a conflict where you really, well, I kind of like that product or that service, but after I went up there and met, you know, the CEO, I didn't like their philosophy.
Well, you know, that's an interesting topic that you bring up, quite frankly, because I get calls many times from people who have bought a franchise, bought a business, and they find out they didn't know where the skeletons were. They end up not liking it. Then they analyze competition, and or quite frankly, it may have been a scam. I got a couple calls from, you know, there's local organizations here you can go to, and there's Small Business Development Center and SCORE, and they will call me to help people who make mistakes. And what I'm doing really is I'm helping people avoid making a mistake.
And that's big in business.
Right. And just like before you can decide what you're going to do the rest of your life, as you just mentioned, you have to go spend a day in life. Drive to Atlanta, drive to Nashville, Knoxville, wherever it is, and go spend a day with a franchisee and shadow them. See what they enjoy doing every day and what they do every day, because you may find out you don't like that.
That's right. I mean, it may sound good. You know, you make, wow, that's really what I want to do. And then you find out the inner workings of it, the philosophy of the company. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could say, you know what, I'm really going to take care of me first, and the decision I'm going to make is for my happiness, and it may not be that. And you do not know that unless you go visit them. You know, that's one of the things I've never thought about. We've talked before, but you brought that up, and that kind of clicked with me. I said, man, yes, going to these places and visiting would be huge.
Well, not only visiting, getting a day in the life of a franchisee, you have the ability to talk to as many franchisees as you want to. A franchisor, when you're doing your due diligence, does not have the right to tell you that you can only talk to certain franchisees. Right. You can open their federal disclosure document and call 5 or 10 or 20 people and ask them all these questions about, you know, the good, the bad, how long to take you to break even, what's a day in your life. what kind of gross and net you did the first year. What are the things that were surprises to you? Ask them about competition. Ask them how the franchisor's training and support was. You get to talk to as many people as you want to. And, when you're looking at starting your own business, you have no one else to talk to except, quite frankly, looking in the mirror.
Yeah,
okay.
Yourself. And then people think you're odd, when
exactly.
you walk around talking to yourself.
Exactly. And you started your business from scratch. You know the problems.
I did. Yeah,
you know the problems.
And you have to learn. You're learning while you do, which is what you said in a franchise. You're going to be on the job training, but you have someone training you. If you're outside of a franchise or you just start on your own, you don't have that training. You do have to talk to yourself. You do have to find out, what do I need to do for my website to push it up in the SEOs? All this stuff where it's a package that comes with the franchise that says, here's our model. We know it's successful. If you do what we ask you to do, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. And, when you start a business from scratch, the mistakes get expensive, and some people just, one, they make mistakes and then they end up running out of money because they don't know how to capitalize the business. Or, when whenever you do your projections, all the CPAs say, cut your projections in half and double your expenses, quite frankly.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Because you don't have anybody to validate those numbers against. So, it is a big issue of running out of money. You don't want to do that. And you really have to understand, my clients understand how long, within some guardrails, it's going to take them to start making money. When you start a business from scratch, there's no way to find that out.
You're right.
Very difficult.
And let's talk money, because not only, that's an important part of it. Not only do you help them find the right franchise that will fit their personality and what they want to do, but you also educate them with the financing arm and how much money it's going to need. And the most important thing is that they get paid.
Yeah. Once my clients find the right opportunity, we then do a use of funds and basically put on paper, what is your franchise fee? What is your startup cost? What are your marketing startup costs? How much you need to pay yourself to pay your bills for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or whatever you want. You have to look at what's going to cost to go to training and set up your corporate entity and whatever. You put that on paper, and then you need a safety net. So let's just say that number was $75,000. Well, I always recommend to my clients they get an SBA loan, which is like a line of credit for $150,000. You just have a line of credit sitting there for $75,000, just so you sleep better at nights. Just because you never know. You're absolutely right. Now, there's a lot of ways to finance a business. You can use your home equity. You can use cash. You can get a loan against your stocks and bonds without having to sell them. You can use your IRA or your 401k, which most people don't realize is that you actually can use your IRA or 401k under what's called an ERSOP plan, which stands for Entrepreneurial Rollover Stock Ownership Plan, where you can take money out of your IRA or 401k and buy stock in your own company. And when you do that, when you use funds from your IRA or 401k, you basically then don't have any debt, and you'll get a much better return on your IRA 401k funds that you're going to use. But you pay no penalties, you pay no taxes, you never have to pay the money back. So many of my clients, will use their IRAs or 401ks. And then these different SBA loan products, from express loans to low documentation loans there's all kinds of different ones. But under the SBA programs, a franchisor must be on the SBA registry. Okay. And what that simply means is they're legitimate. That the Small Business Administration has looked at their federal disclosure documents and the years in business and their success rate of their franchisees.
So you're not going to the cash advance down here on Hickson Pike. Right?
Exactly. So they've done all the due diligence of looking at a franchise, quite frankly, and then they put them on the approved list. It isn't something you buy.
Right.
You have to have that certification.
It has to
technically.
It has to be earned.
It's earned. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Absolutely right. Remind everybody you're listening to Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, the hottest, the newsiest, the talkingest radio station in Chattanooga, without a doubt. And you're listening to the Entrepreneur Hour with Bruce Krebs. And I tell you, Bruce, give your phone number and how to contact, and give your website too.
My phone number is 423-875-5621 for anybody who'd like to sit down for a free assessment. And my website is E as an entrepreneur source, theesource.com/Krebs. /B as in Bruce, Krebs, Krebs.
And one of the things, if you go on his website and look, Bruce, is that you have not only, you're going to help people evaluate themselves and evaluate businesses, and you're going to help them find financing, but you have an online course of tools. I think you said it's about 40 hours long that really help educate in just about all parts of the business.
Yeah, one of the things we found is that when you go into business for yourself, you worry about not having the right background or education in business. So we actually teamed up with Michael Gerber and put together with he and his people programs. One is called AIM, and to help you assess the correct aim or your future, and the other is called FAST, which stands for Fast Track Accelerated Franchise Training, to really give people help with the marketing piece of the business and customer service and client acquisition and how to read a financial statement, a pro forma, a balance sheet. And there's 40 hours and it's free.
Wow.
It's totally free.
And that's priceless, really.
It's priceless.
Not to use a commercial.
If it's free, it's for me. That's right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is priceless because that's all the things you're going to need in a business that you may not think of up front. And then you're scrambling around on the back end saying, wait a minute, I need to learn this, I need to learn that. But you have it all right there on your website.
Yeah. And there's other kind of virtual tours that we do about business ownership. And, because you got to decide if business ownership is right for you, and to me, if you're willing to follow a system and you have certain transferable skills and strengths, you can be successful. If you're an entrepreneur, you shouldn't go into a franchise because you won't follow the system. And that sounds weird. It sounds a little oxymoron, but it's true. The only clients that I've really had fail in 13 years were entrepreneurs
and they
who
think
go
they
do
can
it their
do
way.
better. They think they can do it better.
They think they can do it better.
I'd be guilty of that. And I like systems, but I think, I think I can tweak this. I'm in the same way when I cook, that's a great recipe. But if I add, mustard, then this is going to be even better. But what you said was women tend to do better in franchise because they do follow systems. And that's why you would want a franchise, is you get the system, you get the whole package.
Yeah. And again, there's some of the franchisors that are really good for women, where one in particular gets a franchisee all of their business, 100% of the business, and you can decide how much business you want.
Oh, wow. That'd be
nice. That's a really strange kind of thought process. But when it's in a business that helps people, but literally all of your business, they're going to get from you from their search engine optimization website, national accounts, and you're just executing that, and they train you how to execute it. And there's very few things that are home-based without overhead that are any good. You hear about this scammy kind of thing about medical billing or, selling Amway or whatever it happens to be. And it's even in franchising, quite frankly. There's only about 1% of the 6,900 franchises in 115 industries that I really like, because they don't fit all the criteria we talked about.
Right.
And so, one thing, when you go into business for yourself, you don't want to make a mistake. That is what people have the biggest fear of, and it's called fear of failure. And when you look at fear of failure, that's the biggest fear that people have. And really the only way that you can get over that fear of failure is to really go through this whole due diligence process to understand a day in the life and how everything works. And once you understand that, then you can take and make that jump from corporate America. But when if you look at a dynamic today, the favorite thing that I like to do is, if you're 45 or 50 or 55 years old and you look at what you're making and you kind of do a financial plan, what are my savings? What's in my IRA? What do I have in home equity? And what do I need to retire? Kind of what a financial planner does for you.
Right.
If you see that what you and your wife are making now is not going to get you to where you want to be when you retire, you have to do something different, which there's another thing to think about. Sometimes you can do something part-time or passively. I had two executives at Blue Cross Blue Shield open a business here in Northgate. They still have their
day jobs.
Their day jobs,
yeah.
And they just do this a few hours a week because they got a manager running it for them. And so there is things that can be run either part-time or passively to earn incremental income, it isn't necessarily quitting your job and taking the plunge. So that's another thing to think about. Now, there's very few of those opportunities that are any good, but there's a few.
Let me, on average, and I know everybody's different, but if somebody comes in and has an initial meeting with you, what is the average time from that initial meeting till they start their franchise?
It takes you at least 3 months, 3.5 months to go through this entire due diligence process.
Okay.
And it is not a decision-making process in any way. It's an educational process.
Okay.
Then from that point, there is getting your financing and corporate setup and going to training. That's going to take another month. And so then when you come out of training, then, you know, the franchisor comes in, you start to go out on calls, and you start to make money. So basically it's going to be 3 months to go through the process and another month before you go to training.
Okay. So you're looking at about 4 months.
About 4 months. Yep.
All right. Well, I was wondering that because, I mean, I think I like the way it's heavy on the front end with the education and evaluation.
Right.
And you don't just say, well, you know, in 30 days I can have you up and going. That would be.
Well, you know, there's another thing that's really relevant, and that is that most people have this itch, and that itch is, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night worrying about, am I going to get fired? Is the company go out of business? Is there going to be a merger and acquisition and whatever? And most people want to understand what their plan B is.
Right.
And I can tell you that half my clients that come to me simply want to understand what plan B is. If they leave corporate America, or they get fired or whatever happens, what else is out there? And I help them go through this process. So at the end of it, they can decide if they want to do this in 6 months or a year or never. But more than anything, they sleep better at nights because they have a plan B.
And that is very important.
It's a very important thing. It gives you tremendous peace of mind because everybody wakes up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night occasionally, like, what happens if the company closes, or what happens if they let me go when I'm 50 years old, or whatever it happens to be.
Or technology changes. And I mean, there's a million different things.
Yeah.
Give your information one more time.
My phone number in my office is 423-875-5621. And my website is theIsAnEdwardsSource.com/B as in Bruce Krebs, Krebs.
Well, Bruce, you're on every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday.
And he brings, I would encourage you to listen every other Wednesday because, I mean, I've learned a lot today. I listen to you all the time, even when I leave the station, you know, on Wednesdays, I listen to you and I always learn something. And I think that, I mean, it's very important. And Bruce does a great job. I love the way you believe in education and evaluation first. You're listening to Hot News Talk Radio, 1240 AM. And I want to remind everybody, about 10 minutes, the rally starts downtown. And that's the Chattanoogans for Justice. And it's the rally for Lieutenant Commander Timothy White. If you'd like to go and participate, or maybe you just want to go and show your support to Lieutenant Commander Timothy White just by standing there, that's okay too. But they're going to be downtown. It's in front of the Federal Building, which is on Georgia Avenue. You've been listening to the Entrepreneur Hour with Bruce Krebs. Bruce, thanks for coming in and thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Well, thanks for doing the show with me.
You know, you're passionate. I know you and you love what you do. And I mean, if you should be watching us on YouTube because Bruce smiles a lot and he does. You hear it in his voice that he absolutely loves what he's doing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for doing the show with me.
And normally from 12 to 1, we have the digital drive, but today it's going to be part-time digital drive. And then Russell Stroud, the news director, is going to be in here and he's going to be cutting away to what's going on downtown with the Chattanoogans for Justice rally for Lieutenant Commander Timothy White. After the digital drive, you're going to have the Keon Rose show, which is Clutch, which you may hear my voice because he and I have some picks coming up about college football. My name is Eric Judd. The Mr. Judd Show will be back tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Heating up out there through the afternoon with partly cloudy skies. Dry for a while as well. Highs of around 90 tonight. Fair, but a little muggier, lows near 70. For Thursday and Friday, not much change. Some sunshine and hot afternoons through Friday.